he was doing the same shit I was. I mean, we were ripping and running together. So I said, yo, look, let's go check this out. Like, we're hot right now. We can't keep doing what we're doing. So we went to the Art Institute. We saw the program. We did a whole tour. And we were both like, yo, this is cool. Like, maybe we could do this, right? So we were going to sign up. Next semester, they dropped the culinary program in the Art Institute. So now he's like, dude, I'm going to stay doing this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm making good money. Like, he's like, if you don't want to do it, then give me the connects, give me everything, and I'll stay with it. I'm like, bro, let's just figure it out. He didn't want to. So
this is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
You know, at 12 years old, to go and be able to do that, you're not exactly surrounding yourself with the right people.
But to make such a drastic change, and it sounds like you have a really good foundation at home, they taught you a lot of really good lessons, they had to see something happening.
Yeah, but the thing is, too, right? You got to remember, my parents are always working. My grandma's an older lady. You know what I mean?
You get over on them.
I'm going to go play basketball with my friends. Meanwhile, I'm selling drugs. You know, at 12 years old, I was already smoking weed. By 13, I was selling hard drugs.
Wow, you went downhill quick.
Yeah, no, it was like that.
A 12-year-old boy threatened with murder, thrown immediately into an armed robbery as an unwilling accomplice, and now you're turning to the life.
Yeah, and listen,
the street life.
It wasn't hard to get into that life in the neighborhood I grew up in. You know what I mean? It was all around me. It was all around me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had this core belief of like, I'll never touch drugs. I'll never do this. I'll never do that. Until I saw people that I looked up to that smoked weed. And so I'm like,
it's not that
big of a deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I started smoking weed. Then I started selling weed. Then I realized there ain't much money in weed. So I'm like, what the fuck else can I sell so I can start making some real money? Now I'm making money. Who wants to stop making money, right? So it becomes like this vicious cycle. And it's also that environment where, you know, I just did a story on my Instagram yesterday where, you know, these young kids idolize the wrong shit. Oh, because I'm going to be a gangster. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. And it's like, dude, the price that you have to pay to be a gangster ain't worth the reward. There's no fucking reward.
So working in a suburban town, I used to see this on a different angle. So what has happened, these guys in the inner city, they would get a hook in the suburbs, in the rich areas. It was a wealthy area where I worked. And they would get a hook in there, and they would make them feel like they belong. These kids are missing something at home. There's a hole inside of them, and they would hook them in and hook them in. And all of a sudden, all that kid became is their bitch.
Yep.
He became their bitch, and they owned him. And there was one kid in particular who had it happen, and you know, we would talk to his parents, and his parents were, like, clueless. I was like, what is going on here? Your son is getting mixed up into this stuff. He's going to get hurt. He's not supposed to be with these kids. And not to mention it's bringing a bad element in town, and you just don't want it. But so I saw that from a different angle, because one thing I'll tell you about wannabe thugs, or thugs in general, if they are a true thug, they're really good at manipulation. They're really good at selling the lifestyle.
100%.
Like, hey, you're throwing around cash. You're a young kid, 13, 14, 15 years old. You got money in your pocket. I was 13, 14. I didn't have anything in my pocket, so I stole everything I could get my hands on. Right?
That was the shit with me. I would never steal. If I stole, I had to like let you know. I'd be like, yo, listen, give me your shit. Like, I wasn't gonna like take it when you weren't looking. I was gonna punch you in the face and take your shit. That's just how it was. I just idolized this lifestyle. I remember when I was young, I just wanted to be a gangster because I wanted respect. I wanted, and I guess a part of me was like, well, this kid saw a vulnerable 12-year-old. And that's why he wanted to come in here and take advantage of me, right?
Yeah.
And the crazy shit is, he did this in the middle of Burger King with other people sitting around and nobody even batted a fucking eye. I mean, I don't think anybody stopped eating their Whopper, right? Like, this was like normal. This was normal. So, you know, it becomes like this thing in your head where you're like, all right, well, this is where I live and this is what it is. You're either a victor or a victim.
So you're now getting pulled into that lifestyle.
Oh, yeah, and I also knew I wouldn't go to jail because I was a minor. And my parents, you know, you got to understand too, like my parents don't know why I'm coming home and eating everything in the cupboard.
Yeah.
Right?
Because you're high.
Yeah, but my parents don't know that. My dad, my mom, they maybe smelled. My mom said, "Oh, I smelled weed once when I went to Emerson High School." You know, that's not like my kid gets high. I'm gonna know like this. I mean, because I've been there, right? My parents, they were always straight and narrow, so they didn't know the signs. They didn't know anything.
But there's something really important that you touched on. You're looking for respect. So you take Gus Gutierrez as a 12-year-old boy who was looking for respect, took the easy way to get respect. All right, would you agree with that?
100%.
All right. Look at Gus Gutierrez right now. You're still a man of respect, but you just earned respect in a different way. All right?
100%.
Because with age comes maturity, that mental maturity. Yeah. You're looking for the same thing, but there's a better way and a more sustainable way to find it. And that's what you did today. Now, as you're traveling through your drug dealing days, you start using. Is there anything besides marijuana, or you're still smoking marijuana, or you're doing other things?
Dude, anything that would get me high, I got into. I mean, before we could even buy alcohol, we used to take these things called C3s. So it was Coricidin, cough, and cold. So, you know, we're educated kids that, you know, we all went to Catholic school. We had good education. We're no fucking dummies. Yeah. This was before lean, any of that shit. So we're like, all right, this gets you fucked up. But if you take too much NyQuil, you're going to fall asleep. Let's find out what drug has this in it. All right. So there was these cough pills. And if you take these, you take enough of them, you get really fucking high. So what would we do? We'd go to fucking CVS. We'd buy a pack of these pills, take 16 of these fucking pills in one shot, and you feel like you're walking on a fucking cloud. You know what I mean? Everything short of heroin and crack, I tried. Or crystal meth. Everything short of that, I tried. Because I was like, oh, this will get us fucked up. Oh, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. You know what I mean?
You just got to be careful being Cuban and with the cocaine, because that's totally stereotypical. Totally.
Oh, no, there was plenty of cocaine. I mean, plenty of cocaine. I honestly, when I was younger, I don't know if it was even really cocaine. I don't know what the fuck we were sniffing.
Baby formula.
We thought it was cocaine. But weed was really my big thing, right? And even that, like, and that's why, like, people don't realize that they're addicts. They'll be like, oh, but I just smoke weed. Let me tell you something. Weed kept me from graduating with my class. Weed kept me from every school dance, right? And it's not that weed was a gateway drug. It's that I've always been an addict, right? I just didn't know I was an addict. So I was like, oh, no, I just smoke weed. I don't really drink like that. But guess what? When there was no weed, I drank like that, right? Because there was always something to substitute my natural state because I was unhappy with who I was. So in order to feel better about myself, I had to numb myself in some way, shape, or form. It didn't matter which way, shape, or form, as long as I was under some type of influence, right? Big or small, I was always looking to get high. And I never noticed that pattern.
And there were negative consequences, right? These things, you weren't just getting high. You weren't just getting high and then that's it. Like there are bad things that started to come out of this, I'd imagine.
And my mom used to sleep on the sofa to see if I was going to come home or if she had to go pick me up at the precinct. You know what I mean?
So you start getting locked up.
Yeah, I was getting arrested left and right. But again, I was a minor.
You're juvenile.
So they had to let me go. I got arrested for fucking breaking into a car, for possession, all sorts of shit. And I was like 15.
And you're pissed that you got your stash stolen or taken.
Yeah. Well, I was very clever. I didn't always have the full stash on me. That's the thing. I just kept getting the same result. And I kept doing the same shit, expecting a different result.
Which is the definition of insanity.
Right.
As we know.
And it just, I mean, I went to 3 different high schools. They put me in Catholic school. I should have lasted about 4 or 5 months. And plus, they put me in Catholic school in the middle of Jersey City, a couple blocks away from Duncan Projects. So that didn't work out so well. I got kicked out of there.
All parents do that. They put the kids in Catholic school thinking it's going to change things. Unfortunately, the people in Catholic school, most of them got money. And they can afford to buy shit.
100%. I made the most money in Catholic school.
Of course you did. I went to Catholic school. I know. I know.
Same here.
So you at some point you had to get it together because you start.
I went to 3 different high schools. After that, I went to North Bergen. But North Bergen said, you know what? We don't want him in the school no more. We're going to send the teacher to the house. I used to have a teacher, and I'm not going to say his name because he's probably still a teacher there. But I used to have a teacher that I knew would get high, right? And I knew he got high because he used to get high with my brother. I used to see him smoking weed with my brother. So one day he came, I said, listen, bro, you know I ain't going to do the fucking homework. You know, I said, look, I'll
Got to
give you.
work something out.
I said, listen, I'll give you an eighth of weed. You give me an A. He said, are you out of your fucking mind? Who the fuck is gonna believe that you got an A? I give you a
That's the
B
problem.
minus. I said, deal. He used to come to my house. I give him a bag of weed. I'd sign the paper. He'd give me a fucking B.
You just negotiated a B.
100%. 100%. He knew I wasn't going to do the work, and he was getting high for free. I was like, great. So now I'm giving the teacher weed. And now I'm home all the time. So what am I doing? I'm growing my little enterprise of selling drugs. Now I got other kids that do go to the high school selling drugs for me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, here, you take that. You take that. I'm selling to older kids, to people that aren't in school. I'm selling to them out of my mom's house.
Do you ever worry about being a target, being so young? For the older kids who are really high up at high level?
Well,
in the
no,
drug trade?
that's why I always try to instill fear, because if I was feared, then nobody was going to try me, right? So that was always part of this idea that I created in my head.
But you had to get it together enough to have some sort of profession, because you were a chef at a high level. So
Right. So then
how did that transition?
from there, I couldn't pass any of my classes except that one fucking class. That one class I always did good. So then there was this program called CAS Prep. Basically, it was the school for misfits. I mean, we tried to tell the guy that you should start a football team. The gym teacher, he said, "What's the mascot going to be? A fucking Newport?" I mean, it was a school for misfits. So I went there. I finished. I got my high school diploma. I didn't want a GED. I was like, I want a fucking high school diploma. Got a high school diploma, and then I just kept selling drugs. And you know, it was like a year after. Now my phones are sounding funny. You know, people I know are getting locked up. There's a lot of funny cars. So I'm like, all right.
There's a rock bottom to this thing.
Yeah, I'm like, all right. Clearly, they're onto me. I'm either gonna get locked up, or I'm gonna be dead.
Yeah.
And I'm too pretty for jail. You know what I mean? You put me in jail, I'm gonna have to do some crazy shit, stab somebody in the neck or some crazy shit. Now I gotta do life. I'm like, I'm good. Like, I don't really want to do that. So I went to my mom's office. My mom always wanted me to take over her office. So I'm sitting there one day, and I hate office work. It's the most boring shit in the world. I will fall asleep within 5 minutes. So I Google top paying careers. Pilot comes up. I'm like, oh, this shit's dope. I'm gonna fly a plane. It's gonna be fire.
Ooh,
so
it's gonna be something for the passengers too.
yeah, right. Then I see how much schooling it is. I go, nah, fuck that, not for me. Then the second one was chef. I'd love to see the asshole that wrote this article, because it's definitely not a top paying career. So
For a certain percentage it is, but not for everybody.
No, not a top paying career. Definitely not. Out of all the careers, be a fucking nurse. Do anything. You could be the nurse that installs catheters. You'll make more money. Yeah. But I'm like, all right, this is cool. I'm going to try it out. And I had a best friend that he pretty much grew up with me. So like his parents kind of abandoned him when he was young. My mom took him in, right? He would stay in my house. He was like my brother. And he was doing the same shit I was. I mean, we were ripping and running together. So I said, yo, look, let's go check this out. Like, we're hot right now. We can't keep doing what we're doing. So we went to the Art Institute. We saw the program. We did a whole tour. And we were both like, yo, this is cool. Like, maybe we could do this, right? So we were going to sign up. Next semester, they dropped the culinary program in the Art Institute. So now he's like, dude, I'm going to stay doing this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm making good money. Like, he's like, if you don't want to do it, then give me the connects, give me everything, and I'll stay with it. I'm like, bro, let's just figure it out. He didn't want to. So I'm like, all right. So I went and I applied at Hudson Community, which is in Jersey City. And I was starting the next semester. He stayed in the street. He ended up doing a 5-year bid, right? And a lot of times I'm like, dude, that would have been me.
Yeah.
You know?
That was a crossroads right there.
So he did a 5-year bid. I went to culinary school.
But you had something. I know you were a tough kid, and I know you had this entrepreneurial spirit, as misguided as it was. But you have something that a lot of people on the streets don't have. You have like a second sight, you're very aware of your surroundings. You have a certain intelligence that not a lot of thugs have, especially the thugs that don't last too long. You can tell they're not intelligent, but you had something different. So while you were on the streets, it sounds to me like you were doing you should have never. You would have been successful doing no matter what you chose to do. You just chose to.
I was always an entrepreneur.
Right.
I mean, that was by default, right? I was just tired of disappointing my mom. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I was tired of
So they
breaking my
knew?
mom's heart. Oh, I mean, my mom was, you know, she it's almost like she didn't want to know, but she knew.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, always getting a call from the cops. Oh, he got locked up for this or that, and like, you know, she didn't know the whole scheme of everything, but she knew. She wasn't dumb. You know, you're a young ass kid. You got a Breitling watch on.
But you're her baby.
You know what I mean?
You'll always be her baby.
Yeah.
And you know that whole. I'm really disappointed in you, Gus. And it just crushes you.
Yep.
Like, oh,
Yep.
God.
Worse.
So I went to culinary school, and then I was in culinary school, and it was cool, and I liked it. But I'm like, there has to be more to this shit. I'm like, this shit is, you know, they're giving us 7 hours to make a fucking soup. Again, entrepreneur mindset. I'm like, how much fucking soup can you make in 7 hours? How much can you charge for a bowl of soup? How many bowls of soup are in this pot? This shit don't make sense to pay me a fucking salary to make soup for 7 fucking hours. So what's it really like when you go work at a restaurant, right? Because this shit ain't it. So I said, I'm going to go to the city. I'm going to apply at all the top restaurants. If I'm a cook, I want to cook at the highest level. So I applied at every Michelin star restaurant that I could find. I even had this one restaurant call and fucking make fun of me. They're like, you want to work here? And one of my chefs from school, he wasn't even my chef. He was an instructor for another class. He said, look, you want to cook with the big boys? I said, more than anything. He's like, why? I said, because this shit is not real. 7 hours to make soup. I get we're learning technique and this, but we're not learning time management. We're not learning what a real kitchen's like. And if I'm going to finish 2 years here, I need to know what I'm getting into. I don't want to waste another 2 years of my life. I want to know if this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So he said, email your resume to this guy. And he gave me an email. And little did I know that was going to be my mentor. So I sent my email over, and it was to work at Le Cirque in the city. And I remember going there, nervous as shit. I did a trail. And that very night, he said to me, he goes, so what do you think? Would you want to work here? I go, would I want to work here? Would you allow me to work here? And he said, when can you start? I'm like, right now. I'll deep clean the kitchen. He's like, dude, start on Monday. And that was when I fell in love with the kitchen. It was there. Because they cooked at such a high level, and everything was so intense. And I'm talking about, you know, chefs don't get away with this shit no more. Maybe they do in the really high-end kitchens. But my chef would throw shit at you. He would degrade you. He'd tell you to stand in the corner and face the wall. You know what I mean? And being someone that's been stabbed, been shot at, I'm like, I see him talking to these people like that. I'm like, oh, he come over here talk to me like that. I'll fuck his little ass up.
Yeah.
Right? A week later, he's like, Gus, shut up, you worthless piece of shit. And I'm like, yes, chef. And I'm like, wait a minute. What the fuck just happened?
And Le Cirque is, I mean, top notch.
What I realized is my mindset shifted. I no longer wanted to be a gangster. If I could be half as good a chef as he was, I'll eat shit.
But you're still an addict, because that addict doesn't go away.
Right. So I'm still smoking weed. Now we're doing coke all the time, because now we're working 18 hours, 19 hours a day. So now we're all doing coke. We're closing out the bar. We got a tab at the bar. When we get paid, our check goes to the bar. And like, you know, it's like, I mean, it was so accepted that I used to be the guy that would go around and collect the money from everybody to go outside before service ended to go get the drugs.
The food industry, like, perpetuates the addiction.
Right. So now I'm like, well, I'm not really selling drugs anymore. So now I feel like I don't have to be on point as much. Because when you're selling drugs, you got to be on point all the time. Who's trying to rob you? Who's trying to do this? Who's trying to do that? Here, I just got to be on point for service. Once that last ticket goes out, I get to chill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's such a high stress environment. It's like, oh, well, we're all getting fucked up. We're all doing rails. We're all doing this.
Restaurant business is a weird industry, because I did that, and that's how I worked my way through college, is waiting tables. You live all day with these people, and then you go out and party with these people at night. I know this firsthand, and shit gets out of control real fast. Watch that movie Waiting.
Yep.
Okay? If you watch that, I was watching that with my son. You watch that movie Waiting with Ryan Reynolds. It gives you that's a pretty accurate movie.
Yeah.
But that's what the restaurant industry is like. It's bizarre. Everybody who's having a party tonight? That's what it was.
Yep. I got into the industry young. I had 2 DUIs before I was even 21. Because it was just, you know what I mean? before I was working in the city, we'd go to the bar, we'd get fucked up and this and that. And it was just normal. It was every night. And then once I was working in the city, it just became easier. Because it's like, if you live in Union City, you're hopping a skip from the Lincoln Tunnel. You jump on one of the jitney buses, you're in Manhattan 7 minutes flat. So nobody's going to drive anyway. So I'm like, fuck it, I don't need a license. You know what I mean? It wasn't to me like, oh, damn, I got 2 DUIs. I better straighten out. I was like, fuck a license. I don't need that shit. Right? And I just kept down this path of destruction.
How do you shake off the coil of the bad outcomes, right?
And that's the thing, too, right? Because I was still getting really good at my craft, even though I was getting deeper into addiction. So, like,
you're accepted. So this happens a lot with addicts. So you'll see there's some addicts that you see on the street, right? They're given. But the functioning addicts are usually highly successful people because their missteps are accepted. Well, he's drinking a lot. He's hitting it really hard, but he's doing a good job for us. So we're going to leave him alone. If you want to leave a couple minutes early, well, he made all this money for us. So we're going to allow that stuff. So it starts to feed into it.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't like to live in the what if, but like, dude, I probably would have been 3 times the chef I am if I wasn't getting fucked up so many years. You know what I mean? And a lot of people were upset when COVID happened. COVID, everybody's like, oh, it's terrible for me. How was I going to recover? But I think COVID was one of the best things that happened to me.
You're going to find a way.
I'm resilient.
Yeah.
I've always been resilient. I've always found a way to do it. I found a way to get out of high school. I found a way to get the teacher to give me a B, even though I didn't do shit in his class.
Right.
Like, I'd always find a way. I don't have all the resources, but I'm resourceful as fuck. So COVID happened, and I was working. I cooked kosher for a long time. I was working with the Jewish people up in Muncie, and I loved it. It was great. I mean, Cuban kid, Pt.2 on his arm, and I'm cooking for Jews. It was awesome because I got to reinvent myself as a chef. Oh, you can't eat bacon? Why not? Great, we're gonna make it out of lamb. Oh, you can't have dairy? No problem. We're gonna put cauliflower puree in the mashed potato. We're gonna mask it with garlic confit. Like, I got real creative.
You're gluten free? Don't worry about it. I'll handle you.
You figure it out, right? So I started finding myself as a chef, and then the whole COVID thing happened. My wife's pregnant. We're quarantined. Now I'm like, oh fuck, what do I do now? And then I started making empanadas out of my garage. And that wasn't even the plan. I was just cooking in my house. One day I was like, I'm making empanadas, but I'm gonna make them from scratch. I'm gonna make the dough. I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna make that. And I posted a picture on my Instagram on my story. A couple people were like, yo, can I buy some? I'm like,